This video contains traces of severe stupidity and scenes of graphic ownage. Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay, briefly, who I am and why I'm here. I am a former engineer from the military space program. I entered that program a number of years ago as an evolutionist and an atheist. I came out of it a creationist and a Christian. And tonight I'm going to share some of the things I learned during that time and since, and try to convince you of my beliefs now as well. See, so I'm going to indoctrinate you.
What is it about religion and creationism? Why are the two so often synonymous? I think it's because for a well-informed, free-thinking non-theist, finding religion is a bit like finding a rusty pitchfork and then lobotomizing yourself with it. In other words, it makes you stupid. The people who peddle the most crap are almost all fundamentalist Christians or Muslims, who, whilst throwing their supposed scientific credentials out all over the place, seem to be perpetually confused by current scientific understanding and even elementary logic. Spike is no exception. Sporting a bachelor's degree in electronic engineering, he's committed an entire lecture to picking at a few problems with current theory which are openly discussed by scientists, thus proving once and for all that the Judeo-Christian God handmade everything a few thousand years ago, and Jesus Christ was his son on earth, who died for your sins because he accidentally let a talking snake sully his creation. Right. Well, he also articulates his fair share of blatant falsehoods, and in this video we'll be looking at some associated with Mercury.
The Big Bang, on the other hand, says that everything formed all by itself billions of years ago with no creator necessary or desirable. Everything is explainable by current theories.
This is simply not true. If everything's explainable by current theories, then why are new theories continuously emerging? And why would people even bother doing science? Because, of course, not everything has yet been explained, and that's just fine. The origin of the universe is perhaps the grandest mystery known to man, and to be unwilling to commit confidently to any full explanation is completely okay, and in fact completely logical. Indeed, what we do know beyond reasonable doubt about the Big Bang is a true testament to the power of good science. Granted, the Big Bang theory does not provide a 100% comprehensive solution to this mystery, but we know we're on the right track because it's supported and inferred by many separate lines of inquiry, including but not limited to nuclear physics, high-energy particle physics, radio astronomy, cosmology, thermodynamics, relativity, string theory, and quantum mechanics and chromodynamics. This is analogous to the theory of evolution, which is entirely compatible with, and in most cases inferred by, geology, paleontology, microbiology, genetics, medicine, taxonomy, and cellular mechanics. This is why these theories stand strong, and better theories will be required to overturn them. Trust me, any revolution in our understanding in origins will occur through good science, not a complete rejection of the scientific method.
Although we are told constantly over and over and over again that science has it all figured out, that evolution is the answer, that there are no problems in this theory whatsoever, I'm here to tell you that's not true.
I'm also here to tell you that's not true, because there are openly admitted and openly discussed problems in every field of science. With that in mind, I find it hard to believe that any well-informed individual would ever claim that science has it all figured out, so I'm not sure who Spike's been talking to. But as is par for the course with any creationist, he's using the term evolution to encompass all ideas related to naturalistic origins. I prefer to use the term natural formation when discussing topics not related to biology, and I recommend it to both creationists and honest, decent people alike.
So Mercury is mostly a big ball of iron wrapped in a few rocks. Now this is a big problem for evolution though. Evolutionary nebula theories say that Mercury can't be this dense, not even close to it.
Incorrect. Even a nebula formation hypothesis entirely discounting planetesimal impacts in the young solar system could still allow for the formation of objects like Mercury. And yet we know Mercury has suffered catastrophic impacts anyway, as evidenced by enormous craters on its surface such as the Calorus Basin. It's likely Mercury was struck by a large object early in the solar system's history, stripping most of its mantle to a cloud of debris which was accreted into the sun, or scattered by solar winds. The result was a small planet with a high average density like the one we observe today. In 1987, Professor Willie Bentz and his colleagues at the Smithsonian produced a paper outlining their findings from simulations modelling such an event. They concluded that an object 1/6 the mass of the original proto-Mercury would have been sufficient to deliver the required energy. Given the conditions in the solar nebula, this is a rational hypothesis. NASA's MESSENGER probe, which made its first flyby of Mercury in January 2008, is expected to shed light on its formation by studying its surface composition. Please see the link in the description to keep current with this exciting mission.
All the stuff that should have been there just went away somewhere. So what's the evidence for this model? Well, only that if it didn't occur, Mercury would disprove evolution.
Wait, what? That's a rather bold claim. Well, firstly, he's ignoring evidence such as Mercury's heavily scarred surface shaped by many large impact events during its history, and Benz's simulations demonstrating that such a hypothesis is well-founded. Just putting that aside, he's also rejecting the possibility that either the nebula drag or solar contraction hypotheses could be correct, both of which are compatible with current nebula theory. Lastly, I fail to see how gaps in our understanding of Mercury's formation could disprove the fact that genetic characteristics of a population change over time. Oh wait, he's just mixing up his terms again.
As one evolutionist says, Mercury is so small that the general opinion is that the planet should have frozen solid eons ago. Therefore, Mercury's core cannot be molten. And so evolutionary theories say that Mercury can't have a magnetic field, but it does.
In fairness, there has been much controversy over the origin of Mercury's magnetic field ever since Mariner 10 first measured it in the 1970s. It's very weak, about 100 times weaker than Earth's, and indeed the dynamo action behind it was not believed to be exactly the same as it was with Earth. This was because for a long time it was thought to have a frozen core. But in May 2007, Jean-Luc Margot and his team from Cornell proved that Mercury's core is at least partially molten using a new and intuitive radio bouncing technique to detect variations in its spin rate. What's more, in July 2008, scientists from the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab published their analysis of data from the first MESSENGER flyby, indicating that volcanism is responsible for some of Mercury's surface features, and its magnetic field is actively produced in its core. Core cooling is largely accepted to be the candidate explanation for this, but the core cannot have frozen yet. For some time, scientists have postulated that the iron in the core is doped with a lighter element, possibly sulfur, reducing its rate of cooling.
But the nebula theory says volatile elements like sulfur can't be this close to the sun. So in trying to rescue Mercury for their evolutionary theory, they've undermined the entire theory.
Well, sulfur would not have condensed out that close to the sun. But since it has been found further out in the solar system, it seems plausible that planetesimals in highly eccentric orbits would have donated some to the inner solar system before Mercury fully formed. Understand that this does not in any way undermine any specific part of the nebula theory, let alone the whole of it, which actually infers that the early solar system was complex with a tremendous number of small planetesimals interacting gravitationally to influence each other's orbits. Spike is appealing to his audience's ignorance of the comprehensive nature of this theory. Bear in mind that protoplanetary disks have already been observed around other stars, lending credence to the scientific consensus that our solar system formed from one. Studying these proplyds scientifically will help us to understand Mercury's mysteries, but I just checked the Bible, and Genesis doesn't even mention its abnormally high density.
So here's what you aren't being told about Mercury. Next time you see a science program about Mercury and how it evolved, this, that, and the other, here's what you aren't being told. Number one, evolution says it can't be dense, but we found out it is. Number two, evolution says it can't have a magnetic field, but it turns out it does. And trying to rescue evolution from the facts just makes the problem worse, as we saw when you change your model of Mercury to make it fit in the billions of years, then your entire theory blows up.
Recorded observations of Mercury date back to the Assyrians in the 14th century BC. In the 3,400 odd years since then, only 2 man-made spacecraft have visited the planet, with a third in development. The challenges that must be overcome to get there are not trivial, but the human desire to understand, combined with the technologies available to us through admirable scientific progress, have engendered a chance to truly explore this unique world from over 56 million miles away. Creationists like Spike are rejecting that opportunity on unsubstantiated, faith-based principles, because they believe there is a war of worldviews, and if our scientifically supported and rational one fails to completely address even one small point, then their ridiculous explanation must be true. The real truth is that nothing Spike has put forward infers that Mercury is 6,000 years old, and nothing we've observed about the planet forbids it from having formed naturally billions of years ago. I can only hope that as time goes on and science gets done, these already pathetic God of the Gaps arguments will fade away completely. Before I close, I'd like to extend a huge thank you to Thunderfoot for his recent endorsement of my channel, and of course kudos to the giants of reason and science who inspire me, namely Don Exodus 2, Aaron Ra, Potholer54 and CDK007. Thanks to everyone who's been sending in crap. I expect to dedicate the next few episodes of Crap Debunked to Spike's lecture, but Q&A 2 will be online soon. Once again, this is Andromeda's Wake, wishing you clear skies and good debunking.